Destroying proteins on demand could revolutionize how we treat diseases. That's the promise of molecular degraders. In this video, we look at how they work and which companies are leading the race with the most advanced therapies. Buckle up, let's start the taxi! Welcome to Taxi Biotech, a show to keep up with the latest news and updates from the world of biotechnology, and to learn about its impact on the stock market. The stock data I present here is just a reflection of how companies or the clinical trials are progressing and does not constitute any investment recommendation. This is purely for entertainment. Let's start. Molecular degraders were discovered by accident. In fact, the first molecular degrader was unknowingly responsible for serious infant defects caused by a drug meant to treat nausea in pregnant women, thalidomide. A dark stain in the history of science, but one that has led to a new research field. By studying how the drug worked, scientists discovered that one form of thalidomide caused the teratogenic effects. Later, they found that a variant of it could selectively degrade two transcription factors, which turned out to help treat patients with multiple myeloma. Today, a derivative of that horrendous drug is used as therapy for a type of blood cancer. This opened the door to the idea that some molecules could selectively degrade harmful proteins in the body. But how can we design these molecules from scratch? There are different types of molecular degraders, but they generally work like this. Credit to Arvinas for this video. You have a peptidic molecule that binds to the target protein on one end and to an E3 ligase on the other. The ligase then adds ubiquitin to a nearby proteins, including the target. Once a protein is tagged with ubiquitin, it's marked for destruction by the proteasome, a natural cleanup system in our cells. Now we can guide this process for therapeutic purposes. Even better, the degrader can detach and repeat the process again on other proteins before it's broken down, meaning lower doses are needed because the molecule is reused. Of course, there are variants of this system that improve efficiency depending on the tissue or protein type. Additionally, there is something interesting. E3 ligase are different between cell types, which means in theory we could create cell type specific degraders. There is still research to be done to make this happen, but it's amazing that we can even dream of selectively degrading proteins in different tissues without harming the rest of the body. And now let's take a look at which degraders are currently in development. Arvinas is the company with the most advanced degrader program, currently in phase 3 trials. Their lead molecule targets estrogen receptor positive HER2 negative breast cancer. 3 months ago, they announced positive results that, unfortunately, were not statistically significant. The stock plummeted 60% that same day. Later, they announced the termination of some clinical trials with Pfizer, which caused another 33% drop in the price of the stock. Needless to say, the stock has been shaking. But we're here to look for opportunities, right? Who's covering this scientific stock related thing on YouTube? Come on, only this taxi. The CEO claims that in a specific patient subgroup with an ESR1 mutation, the drug works well. In fact, data shows a positive effect in ESR1 mutant patients, and this group makes up about 40% of all estrogen receptor positive breast cancer patients. Based on that, Arvinas has asked the FDA to approve the drug for this specific population. If approved, could this be huge? How much could the drug sell? Some resources estimate 600 million per year. The total market is around 4 billion, it's quite big, and a competitor already sells 1 billion globally. Given that only 40% of patients have this mutation, the 600 million estimate seems reasonable. Other sources estimate that total sales of related drugs could reach 4 billion by 2033. As always, links and references are in the description. So to sum up, we have a company with a 500 million market cap asking for FDA approval of a breast cancer drug that works in 40% of ER-positive patients. If approved, it could generate 500 million to 1 billion annually. The FDA now has to decide. In theory, under the new administration, there is an interest in supporting treatments for underserved conditions, and this drug has fast-track designation. The approval isn't a sure thing, of course. FDA may ask for more trials, but this FDA new administration gives me hope for a possible conditional approval. What do you think about this? Let's keep going with more companies working on molecular degraders. Kymera Therapeutics has a similar approach. They are developing a degrader for STAT6, which would help lower the immune response in diseases related to immune overactivation. They are also collaborating with Sanofi on treatments for dermatitis. Recently, Kymera reported that their degrader was able to reduce STAT6 levels by over 90% with a well-defined dose. The stock with that data jumped 45% on that day. Even more exciting, we are expecting clinical data from dermatitis patients in Q4 this year. As this Twitter user posted, while many companies are targeting STAT6, Kymera is clearly in the lead. One thing that concerns me a bit about suppressing the immune system is the risk of opportunistic infections. Do you also worry about these potential side effects? Let me know in the comments. Next up is Nurix Therapeutics, which is integrating AI into the design of its degraders. Their most advanced molecule is in phase 1-2, targeting BTK tyrosine kinase to treat blood cancers. Nurix is in a strong financial position, with enough cash on hand to begin pivotal trials of this molecule in 2025. The stock has taken a major hit over the past year, but with 500 million in cash and a market cap of 875 million, much of the downside might already be priced in. We'll see if the upcoming data can convince investors that their therapies are truly working. Then we have C4 Therapeutics, still in early stage with their programs. In May, they announced a complete remission in a patient with multiple myeloma, treated with one of their degraders. With these results, they hope to start positive conversation with the FDA for a new trial starting in 2026. They also report having over 200 million in cash, enough to fund operations through 2027. Now there is something to notice. The company's market cap is only 100 million, while they have 200 million in cash. If they receive positive feedback from the FDA and release more promising data, we might be looking at an undervalued stock. Of course, they are still far from getting drug to market and will likely need more funding, with all that implies, covered in this channel a lot of times. And lastly, Monte, Rosa Therapeutics. They are in early development stages but have a strong partnership with Novartis. Their main project together is an immune disease degrader, currently in phase 1. If it moves to phase 2, Novartis will pay them because it's a milestone payment. They are also planning to present data from their prostate cancer degrader in the second half of this year, and they say they have enough cash runway until 2028. Their market cap is around 300 million, which is roughly what they have in cash, a sign the market is currently assigning no value to the pipeline itself. Now, Monte Rosa already released safety data for their Novartis partner program, and it looked good. So logically, the next step is starting phase 2, which would trigger a payment from Novartis. Although the exact amount of money hasn't been disclosed, this milestone should be resolved by the end of this year or early 2026. And if they already have cash through 2028 and the company is valued only for its cash, then once the payment arrives, shouldn't the new cash balance be reflected in the valuation too? Of course, this is not investment advice, just speculation, you know how it goes. And that's the end of the ride. These are the companies that I like most. Of course, there are also several Chinese companies and even non-public startups exploring exciting ideas like mitochondrial protein degradation, what I really like. And of course, the big pharma players are working on internal programs of their own. So I hope that you enjoyed this ride and see you in the next episode. Bye!